They laughed when you warned them. They're trembling now that your warnings are becoming reality. They called you paranoid. They called you delusional. But now they're the ones panicking behind closed doors, rereading their own lies, praying the truth doesn't make it to the surface. And chosen one, the universe made sure you'd be watching. Front row, center stage. As every mask begins to rot and peel, as every secret they swore would stay hidden starts to leak through the cracks like poisoned water under pressure. They can't hide it anymore. The show is falling apart. And now they're freaking out. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one, the same people who mocked your intuition, whispered about you behind your back, and made you feel like you were the problem, are now quietly deleting old texts, covering their digital footprints and pretending their memory's fuzzy. They're shaking hands that once threw daggers, smiling nervously in rooms they once dominated with pride. Why? Because the truth they tried to bury is breathing. And every step you take now is a signal to the rest of the world. Something's not right, and it never was. Watch closely, listen carefully, look at how their tone has changed. The same ones who had so much to say about you, suddenly they've gone silent. Why? Because when truth rises, even the most carefully stitched mask slips. Even the loudest denier stumbles. Even the puppet master becomes a prisoner of their own lies. And you, chosen one, are the reason that truth is rising. You were never meant to bow. You were meant to expose. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message forward by simply pressing the like and subscribe buttons to help spread this message to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thank you, chosen one, for being part of this mission. You're not just watching history shift, you are the shift. You are part of a force that has no leader, no face, but moves with the power of a storm. Now, let's get back to what matters. They can't hide it anymore. The guilt is leaking through their pores like sweat in a courtroom. You don't even need to confront them. Just be present. Just exist. Your very energy is triggering tremors in the illusions they spent years constructing. And the wild part, most of them still don't even understand how you see it all so clearly now. But you do. You've been shown the behind-the-scenes footage. You've felt the invisible strings they used to manipulate not just you, but the entire room. And now that you've cut those strings, oh, they're panicking. This isn't just exposure, this is collapse. This is when the villain of the story finds out the cameras were rolling the whole time. This is when the universe starts collecting receipts in public. This is when the same voices that silenced you start echoing with regret, because your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. You've always known something was off, that their smiles didn't match their energy, that their words were rehearsed, that their stories had holes too perfectly patched. But you stayed quiet, hoping they'd come clean, hoping they'd evolve. And when they didn't, you evolved without them. That's what they can't process. That's what's making them unravel. And now that unraveling is visible, you're not imagining it. They're really shifting when you walk into a room. They're really lowering their voice when you pass by. They're really avoiding your eye contact because the fear is real now. Not fear of you hurting them, but fear of you revealing them. The truth is their biggest enemy, and guess what, chosen one? You carry it like a torch, and torches expose shadows. Remember this, the most dangerous kind of truth is the one that no longer needs to be spoken. It's the kind that's felt, the kind that moves through a room like electricity. That's you now. You don't even need to tell your side of the story. Your energy is your side. And their panic, that's your confirmation. So don't be surprised when they start rewriting history, trying to paint themselves as victims, twisting timelines, or pretending they were just misunderstood. That's not honesty, that's desperation, because their web is collapsing and you, chosen one, are no longer tangled inside it. You're flying above it, free, exposed, untouchable. This isn't the time to question your vision, it's the time to trust it more than ever. The illusions are burning, the lies are choking their creators, and every time you stand in your truth, another mask falls. Every time you breathe without shame, another illusion dies. They know it's over, and that's why they're freaking out. And chosen one, don't blink now, because what you just heard, that was the warning shot, the full exposure. It's coming in waves, and we're about to walk through each one, step by step, until every hidden thing is dragged into the light. So, if you feel the chills, if something inside you knows this truth is personal, drop the number 777 in the comments to confirm you're aligned with this frequency. And if this message hit deep, bless the mission with a super thanks. It fuels the fire, because this isn't just content, this is a takedown, and you're holding the torch. And now, let's dive into it, piece by piece. Stay sharp, stay tuned, because if you're truly chosen, something in your soul won't let you click away. The storm's already started, and you're not here by accident. Let's begin. Number 1. They thought no one would catch them until you remembered everything. The worst kind of exposure is the one that happens without warning, while they're still lying. They thought they won because you went quiet. They mistook your calm for confusion. They laughed when you walked away, but they never realized the ones who walk away in silence are the ones who come back with truth. And truth doesn't knock. It kicks the door off the hinges. Chosen one, the biggest mistake they made wasn't the betrayal. It was thinking you'd forget, thinking the pain they caused would be too blurry to trace. But what they never expected was the sharpness of your memory, the clarity of a soul that was born to see through shadows. While they were spinning lies, you were studying their patterns. While they were smiling to your face and sabotaging behind your back, you were clocking every shift, every slip, every stutter in their script. You weren't silent because you were blind. You were silent because you were watching. Now imagine this for a second. Chosen one, the same ones who said you're overreacting, are now scrambling to hide what they swore never happened. The same ones who whispered behind your back are checking every mirror now, terrified the mask might finally crack. They had the nerve to call you paranoid, but now they're the ones looking over their shoulders. And that's what poetic justice looks like. Because here's a fact that can't be denied. When someone remembers from the soul, not the mind, they don't just expose people, they dismantle legacies. They don't need revenge, they become proof. And that's what you are now, living proof that not only did you survive, but you remember the truth with surgical precision. Their timeline is collapsing because your memory is aligning. They lied in layers, but you remember in sequence. And that's what's ripping the veil off, piece by piece. Do you know what they're afraid of right now? Not the past being discovered, but the past being confirmed. They knew what they did, they knew what they said, but they counted on your exhaustion, on your isolation. They thought you'd fold under the weight of, maybe I imagined it. But chosen one, you didn't imagine it, you absorbed it, like rain on roots. And now those memories, they're blooming into truth. Let's call it what it is. Gaslighting warfare. They played psychological games to distort your reality, to make you second-guess your gut, but they underestimated the universe's backup plan. They forgot that truth has a boomerang effect. What's thrown away always circles back. And now that it has, they're choking on their own denials. Let me give you a metaphor they hate. Imagine a vault. Inside it are moments they swore would never see daylight again. Conversations, actions, betrayals, cover-ups. But here's the twist. That vault wasn't locked by them. It was held by your soul. And now, that vault is opening. Not because they slipped, but because your memory finally connected to your purpose. And now, everything clicks. They spent years trying to rewrite the story while you were still living it. They ran PR campaigns in silence, painting you as emotional, unstable, or bitter. But all you were was accurate. The worst part? They thought they were clever. They smiled through sabotage, toasted to their deceit, and thought karma was just a bedtime story for the naive. But the universe doesn't forget, and neither did you. And here's something they never prepared for. The chosen one never needs a crowd. They just need clarity. You're not looking to expose for attention. You're here because exposure is alignment. Because the moment the truth hits the surface, the illusions die. The moment you confirm what others only felt, they wake up too. And that's what's happening now. The collective remembrance is here, and it's not soft. It's loud, raw, and undeniable. Look at history. Every revolution began with one person who remembered what everyone else was told to forget. Malcolm remembered, Harriet remembered, Mandela remembered. They weren't just powerful, they were awakened. They weren't reacting, they were recalling. That's where real power lives. And now it lives in you. And you might wonder, why me? Why were you the one to remember while everyone else bought the illusion? Because your soul was assigned to it. You're not just here to witness the fall. You're here to be the signal that ends the game, the echo that cracks their silence, the reflection that makes them flinch. That's why they're freaking out, because they know they can't undo what you now remember. They can't silence a truth that already landed. They can't rewrite a narrative that you lived. And let's be clear, their downfall isn't coming. It already started. The minute you opened your mouth and said, "Wait, that didn't add up," the spell broke, the mask twitched, the lie trembled, because there's nothing more dangerous than a chosen one with clarity. You don't need proof. You are the proof. You don't need receipts. Your peace is the receipt. You don't need revenge. Your evolution is the closure. So now they're panicking, not because you're loud, but because your silence now holds weight, because the calm before your confirmation is what's making their secrets sweat. Their lies are no longer protected. Their manipulations are no longer subtle. And their mask, it's not slipping, it's melting. Because when you remember, you don't just confront the past, you activate the future. And chosen one, your memory isn't just a weapon, it's a map. It's the final piece they hoped you'd never find. And now that you have, their show is over. They thought no one would catch them, but you did. And now they can't hide it anymore. Number 2. You weren't supposed to heal, you were supposed to break. They hid the truth behind your trauma, hoping you'd never look past the pain. They never feared your weakness, they depended on it. Your pain was their smokescreen, your confusion, their comfort zone. Every time they betrayed you and watched you fall apart, it fed the illusion that they were in control. Not just of your relationships, but of your reality. Because when you hurt, you hesitate. When you bleed, you second guess. And that hesitation is what they were banking on. That you'd stay locked in trauma loops while they rewrote the script and cast you as the villain. But chosen one, you didn't just survive, you healed. And that's what ruined their plan. Because healing doesn't just mend wounds, it unlocks vision. You started seeing who was holding the knife, not just where you were bleeding. You saw the hand behind the curtain. You felt the strings they tried to pull. And suddenly, they weren't puppeteers anymore. They were exposed manipulators, losing control of a story you were never meant to live in the first place. Now imagine this for a second. Chosen one, they built entire stories around your brokenness. They counted on your silence, your withdrawal, your shame. They thought the trauma they handed you would become your cage, that you'd decorate it, make peace with it, and never try to leave. And now, you've kicked the door off the hinges. You're not limping, you're leading. You're not seeking validation, you're setting standards. And that terrifies them. Here's the hard truth they don't want spoken out loud. They didn't create the pain to punish you. They created the pain to distract you, because when someone is constantly battling emotional exhaustion, they don't have time to recognize betrayal. When someone is always questioning if they're enough, they don't see who's draining their power. Trauma, when unchecked, becomes their favorite form of camouflage. But healing strips that camouflage away. And chosen one, your clarity now makes their shadows impossible to hide in. Let me give you a metaphor they can't stand. Imagine a glass box filled with smoke. From the outside, they convince everyone it's empty, that there's nothing to see, nothing to fear. But once the smoke clears, every trap, every snake, every manipulative tactic becomes visible. That smoke, that was your trauma. And now that it's cleared, the truth is loud, ugly, and undeniable. And here's the most brutal twist of all. They didn't expect your nervous system to recover. They didn't think your voice would stabilize. They assumed the scars they left would keep reopening every time they reappeared. But your healing reprogrammed everything. They used to be able to ruin your day with one message, one tone shift, one look. Now they send their signals and you don't even flinch. That's what has them spiraling. Because chosen one, you're not reacting the same. And when you don't react, manipulators lose their oxygen. They pull a string and it doesn't work. They trigger a memory and it doesn't sting. They try to control the room and you simply leave it. That's not just power, that's liberation. And it drives them insane. And here's something they'll never say out loud. They liked you better broken. They loved you when you doubted yourself, when you over-apologized, when you played small. Because every time you chose peace over confrontation, they gained ground. Every time you turned the other cheek, they took it as weakness, not wisdom. But now they're the ones uncomfortable. You walk in with presence and the whole room shifts. You're not explaining anymore, you're not defending, you're just being. And that's enough to expose every lie they ever spoke about you. They branded you unstable while they destabilized you. They called you dramatic while they orchestrated drama. They labeled you too much while feeding off your light in secret. And now, with your clarity intact, you see how inverted everything was. You weren't too much. You were the threat, not because of what you did, but because of who you could become. And now you have become it. Look around. Notice how quiet they've gotten. The ones who used to gossip non-stop, silent. The ones who worried about you, suddenly distant. The ones who kept checking in to see how you're doing, gone. Because the healed version of you doesn't feed their narratives. The healed version of you doesn't need approval. And the healed version of you doesn't sit at tables where poison was once served with a smile. Let me give you a fact that confirms what you've been feeling. Studies show that once a person detaches emotionally from a toxic pattern, the manipulator behind it often escalates, not because they care, but because they can't stand losing control. And if you've noticed the guilt tripping, the fake apologies, the "why are you acting different" energy, that's your confirmation. You healed, and they can't play their old role anymore. Now think about this. Every famous revolutionary, artist, leader, at some point they were broken, not by life, but by the people closest to them. And every time they were told to just move on, stop being dramatic, or you're too sensitive. But the moment they healed, history changed. Because the truth is, chosen ones aren't chosen because they never break. They're chosen because they always rise. You're rising now, and they can feel it. So now they're the ones hurting, not because you hurt them, but because you don't anymore. You don't give them that reaction, that vulnerability, that open wound they used to poke. You're walking around sealed, clean, a soul that faced fire and came out glowing, and it's burning them alive, because the version of you that heals is the version they fear most, the one who walks in truth, speaks with clarity, loves with boundaries, leaves without guilt. You weren't supposed to get here, but you did. And now they're freaking out, because no amount of manipulation can undo a chosen one who's healed. Number 3. They told a story so loud, they forgot you still had a voice. Narratives collapse when the truth speaks calmly. They screamed, slandered, twisted timelines, and rewrote entire chapters of your life, loud enough to drown out your truth. But they made one fatal miscalculation. They mistook your silence for surrender. They thought if they told their version long enough, loud enough, and to the right people, it would become fact. They forgot one thing. You still had a voice, and the universe never revoked your truth. They painted you as the villain so convincingly, even you started to question your own memories. Was I wrong? Did I overreact? Maybe it really was my fault. These questions weren't born in your soul. They were planted, strategically, intentionally, because if you questioned your own truth, you'd never feel safe enough to speak it. But the universe waited, patiently. It waited for the moment your voice matured past pain and into power. Because here's what they never expected, that you would one day speak without venom, that you'd state facts without fury, that you'd recall the entire plotline without trembling. And when the truth is spoken in calm clarity, something strange happens. People start listening. Now imagine this, chosen one. The same people who used to lean in to hear gossip about you are now leaning in to hear your side. Not because you're yelling, but because they feel the calm certainty of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. Your voice doesn't sound like revenge, it sounds like truth. And that's what they fear most, that their story is starting to sound like a lie next to your peace. Even science confirms this. A 2021 study on misinformation found that people remember emotionally calm, consistent facts longer than reactive or aggressive messages. The truth that survives isn't the one shouted the loudest, it's the one spoken with unwavering conviction. So let them panic, let them spiral. They gambled everything on you staying silent forever. But now you speak, you remember. And the moment your voice met your healing, the lie collapsed like a house of cards in a still wind. Let them choke on their own noise, because your clarity is the sound of the universe correcting the record. Number 4, their guilt is getting louder than their denial. A guilty conscience will always speak, even in silence. It's written all over them now. Their body flinches before their mouth opens. Their smile doesn't reach their eyes. Their voice cracks in places they used to speak with pride. This isn't coincidence, it's collapse. Their guilt is louder than their denial now, and the universe made sure you'd notice every glitch in their performance. They used to be composed, didn't they? So smooth with the lies, so calculated with the stories. But now, even their silence trembles. That's the thing about guilt. It doesn't stay hidden for long. It leaks, it festers, and then it spills in the way they stutter, retreat, and over-explain things no one asked them to explain. Watch them, chosen one. Watch how they avoid the places they used to parade in. Watch how they squirm when someone casually mentions your name. Watch how they conveniently can't remember the same stories they told with confidence. It's not confusion, it's corrosion. The truth is, eating them alive from the inside out. And here's the kicker. They thought you'd never make it this far. They were sure you'd still be crawling through your pain, second-guessing your instincts, begging for clarity. But instead, you walked out, and now your very existence is a trigger. You didn't have to expose them. Their guilt is doing all the work. The universe has a strange sense of justice. Sometimes it doesn't roar, it whispers. It lets the weight of silence become unbearable. And right now, they are carrying the weight of every lie, every betrayal, every cover-up they swore would never surface. And the louder their conscience gets, the quieter their crowd becomes. Why? Because even those who once clapped for the performance can feel something's off now. The energy doesn't lie. And chosen one, you don't even have to raise your voice. Just being at peace is proof. Just breathing without needing to explain is evidence. Their denial can't compete with your divine clarity. Their mask is falling, not because you ripped it off, but because guilt is heat, and heat melts plastic every single time. Let them sweat. Let them choke on the silence they once weaponized, because now it's telling your side of the story for you. Number 5. They built a house of mirrors, but you brought the sun. Illusions don't survive light. They never fought you with facts. They fought you with illusions. They didn't need the truth to be on their side. They just needed enough confusion to cloud your clarity. So they built a house of mirrors. Every time you stepped forward, the reflection distorted. They twisted your words, redirected blame, and made you question your own reflection. Gaslight after gaslight. Every wall you turned to was just another illusion, a setup to make you think the problem was you. But they made one fatal mistake. They built their kingdom on smoke, and smoke has one natural enemy: light. Chosen one, the light you walk with now is not soft or apologetic. It's sharp, it's exposing. It doesn't ask questions, it reveals answers. You didn't need to tear their house down, you just had to shine. And now, every wall of illusion they built is turning transparent. That sun you carry, it's burning straight through their performances. Look at how they squint now when you're around. Not because you did something wrong, but because your clarity is too much for the lies they rehearsed. Look how quiet they get when you speak, not because you're harsh, but because the reflection they tried to trap you in is now bouncing back onto them. They made you the villain in their version of the story, hoping you'd spend your life trying to fix a lie. But you stopped fighting mirrors. You started radiating truth. And let me tell you something powerful. Light doesn't argue. It just reveals. It reveals what they tried to bury. It reveals who they really are when no one's watching. It reveals how your innocence was never the problem, their manipulation was. They can't twist it anymore, not when the light is this bright. They used to say, "You're overreacting." Now they say nothing at all, because chosen one, the sun doesn't explain itself, it just rises. So keep shining, don't dim for anyone. They'll call it arrogance, rebellion, ego, but deep down, they know it's exposure, and no house of mirrors can stand when the one walking through it carries the dawn. Number 6, their peace was based on your silence, now it's war. What they called peace was really just your suppression. Chosen one, let's be brutally honest, what they called peace was never peace. It was control. It was you walking on eggshells so they could sleep at night. It was you swallowing your truth while they fed lies to the crowd. It was you clenching your fists under the table while they smiled and played innocent. And the moment you spoke, the room shifted. Not because you were wrong, but because their mask couldn't survive your truth. Let that sink in. Their entire sense of comfort was built on your silence. Their harmony was held together by your restraint. And now that you've broken the silence, now that your voice is steady and your spine is strong, they're calling it chaos. They're calling you the disruptor. Why? Because they can't function in a world where you're no longer willing to be quiet. What they fear isn't noise, it's clarity. What they dread isn't conflict, it's accountability. And now that you've reclaimed your voice, every fake friendship, every false alliance, every sugar-coated manipulation they built is beginning to fall like a house of cards in a windstorm. They don't want peace, they want submission, and when you refuse to fold, that's when they call it war. But here's the truth they don't want to admit. They were never at peace. They were just undisturbed by your silence. And now that you're loud with truth, they're losing control, and they know it. Look closely, chosen one. The same people who once said, "Why can't you just let it go?" are now panicking behind the scenes. Because truth, when spoken from a healed place, doesn't sound like revenge. It sounds like judgment. And nothing terrifies a liar more than being seen clearly. Let them panic. Let them scramble. You didn't start a war. You ended the fake truce they forced you into. You didn't bring destruction. You just removed the illusion of peace they used to keep you small. And here's the part that drives them wild. The universe backs you now. You're not shouting, you're vibrating truth. And truth doesn't ask permission to be heard. It just is. And once it's out, there's no going back. Let the false peace burn. Let the war they feared arrive, because this time it's not about revenge, it's about reclamation. Number 7. They're running scared, but still smiling in public. Fake calm is the mask of a collapsing kingdom. Chosen one, don't be deceived by the surface. They may still show their teeth in photos. They may still post their half-hearted quotes about peace and positivity. They might even pretend to be thriving. But behind the curtain, it's a circus of chaos. Their kingdom is crumbling and they know it. You can hear it in their sudden silence. You can feel it in their forced laughter. The same ones who tried to bury you with lies are now trying to hold their own stories together with trembling hands. This is what happens when illusion meets consequence. They're running, but with a smile, scrambling for control, but wearing pearls of composure. It's performative peace, and it's louder than a scream to those who can see through it. Because you, chosen one, are no longer spellbound by their presentation. You've been in the shadows, watching, healing, rising, and now the stage they built to make you look small has turned into their trial ground, and the lights are too hot for masks to stay on long. Now imagine this, the same people who once pitied you are quietly praying you never bring up the past. The same people who called you too sensitive are now overly cautious with every word they post. Why? Because the truth you carry is alive. It's not just a memory, it's a fire they can't outrun. They're making backup plans, reaching out to people they once ignored, trying to rewrite their roles in your story. Suddenly they want to make peace, to move forward, to let the past go. But that's not healing, that's hiding. And the universe doesn't reward cowards who fake calm while plotting in secret. It rewards the one who faced it all and still stood up, you. They're not scared because you're speaking, they're scared because you're being heard. Your truth is gaining ground. The old narrative is bleeding out. And no matter how many filters they use, the fear in their eyes is becoming visible. So smile back, chosen one, but do it from power, from presence, from peace they didn't give you and can't take away. Because behind their staged calm is a mind racing, a tongue twisting, and a reputation hanging by threads. Let them wear their mask a little longer. It'll fall when the next truth hits. And this time, you won't even need to speak. The universe is speaking through you now. Number 8. You were the warning, now you're the evidence. They tried to erase your presence, not knowing you'd become proof. Chosen one, you were never the problem. You were the pattern breaker. The early signal, the uncontainable energy that triggered alarms in their quiet little kingdom of control. But instead of learning from you, they labeled you. Instead of listening to you, they tried to silence you. They called you the issue. They called you unstable, dramatic, too much, too sensitive, anything to protect the story that made them look like the victim. But here's the thing. They didn't understand the universe was using you as a mirror, a signal, a living prophecy, not of destruction, but of revelation. Now look at what's happening. The very lies they told about you are unraveling, and not because you screamed, not because you fought back, but because you survived, because you healed, because you kept going, and now your existence is the receipt. Your glow is the evidence. Your peace is louder than their denial. You were the warning that things weren't what they seemed. And now that others are waking up, you've become the blueprint of what it means to break free. Imagine this. A person gets burned and spends years being blamed for the fire. They carry scars, they lose friends, they question themselves, and just when they've almost accepted the blame, others start showing the same burns. And one by one, they come forward. Now the story changes. Now it's undeniable. You weren't the problem, you were the pattern, and the moment your story repeats in others, the enemy's walls begin to crack. They tried to hide you, discredit you, exile you, but in doing so, they made your journey unforgettable. And here's the twist. They never thought you'd survive long enough to tell it. That's why they're panicking now. Because the energy you carry is not bitter, it's magnetic. And people are listening, people are relating, people are looking at your scars and finally realizing they were there too. You're not just a survivor, you're a symbol. You're the evidence that truth always rises, that darkness always exposes itself when faced with light, and that one chosen one who refused to disappear is more powerful than 100 who pretend to be clean. So hold your head high. You don't have to prove anything. They've already proven themselves by the way they scrambled to erase you. But the more they tried to delete you, the more permanent you became. Their denial gave you clarity. Their silence gave you focus. And their lies, they gave you legacy. You were the warning. Now you are the evidence. And chosen one, they can't hide from that anymore. Number 9. They can't explain why you're still standing. Survival is rebellion when they tried to erase you. They crafted every detail of your downfall, whispered rumors like poison, dismissed you with a smile while sharpening the knives behind your back. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still rising. Chosen one, they calculated everything except your resilience. You weren't supposed to make it out of that betrayal. You weren't supposed to smile again after that heartbreak. You weren't supposed to rebuild after they tried to burn every bridge beneath you. And yet, you didn't just survive, you transcended, you evolved. You became someone they can no longer categorize, explain, or predict. Because survival in a world designed to silence you is loud. It's a defiant act. It's a rebellion against the narrative they spent years building. You were meant to stay down, to disappear, to drown in shame. But now, your presence feels like thunder in their quiet little fantasy. They can't hide from what you've become, because you weren't supposed to become anything at all. Imagine this, chosen one, a flower grows through concrete, not watered, not planted, not protected, and everyone who walks by has to question what they thought they knew about what was possible. That's you. You are that impossible bloom. You were never meant to survive the storm, but the fact that you did is the very reason people are starting to believe in the unexplainable. And make no mistake, they are freaking out, Because when someone survives what you did and comes out even more aligned, even more radiant, even more grounded, it shatters the illusion that they had any real power. Their influence relied on your silence. Their status thrived off your invisibility. But now, you are proof that truth can't be buried. You're the kind of truth that resurrects itself. And it haunts them. Every time they see you glow, they hear the scream of their own failure. Every time someone asks, "How did you make it through all that?" It's another crack in the mask they wear. And that glow of yours, that peace you've earned, it's louder than any story they ever told. Because peace after chaos is revolutionary. So don't shrink, don't downplay it. Your very existence is offensive to those who thought they had written your ending. You're standing in the middle of their broken script, rewriting it without their permission. And that, chosen one, is the most beautiful revenge of all. Number 10. Their secrets are slipping through the cracks. What's done in darkness doesn't just come to light, it leaks slowly and publicly. Chosen one, they built their whole world on secrecy, on shadows, on illusion. They convinced everyone that you were the unstable one, the overthinker, the liar. They counted on the fact that the truth wouldn't have the strength to climb out of the grave they buried it in. But here's what they forgot. Truth doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to beg. It just waits and leaks. Now it's happening. Their web of lies is unraveling. Their polished image cracking. People who once stood by them are quietly stepping back. Old allies are going silent. Supporters are getting skeptical. Why? Because the cracks are getting harder to ignore, and the stench behind their mask is starting to seep through. Secrets that were once tightly locked in the dark are now slipping out like smoke under a closed door. You can't unsee what's now being revealed. Imagine this for a second. Chosen one, a massive dam holding back dirty, contaminated water. On the outside, it looks stable, secure, but one small leak starts to drip, then another, and another. Soon, the pressure becomes unbearable, and before they can patch it, the whole thing explodes. That's what's happening right now. Their carefully curated persona is beginning to rot, and no matter how many smiles they fake, people are noticing the tremble in their voice. And the universe? It's not letting them hide anymore. The timing isn't random. The exposure isn't accidental. This is divine alignment. Every hidden file, every deleted message, every manipulated conversation, it's being drawn into the light. Not because you're chasing revenge, but because you stood in truth, and the universe rewards that. They're panicking, watching timelines fold in ways they can't control, watching people they used to manipulate start to question them, because once doubt enters the room, it multiplies fast, and once one person sees through the mask, others follow. That's what they fear most. Not your voice alone, but the echo of others saying, "I see it too." So don't be surprised if they start blaming you for the very chaos they caused. Don't be shocked when they accuse you of stirring things up just because people are finally paying attention. That's what desperate people do when their shadows stop cooperating. They point fingers at the light. But here's what they can't stop now. The unraveling has begun. The cover story is decaying, and the moment they mocked you for, it's arriving right on schedule, one whisper at a time, one leak after another, until nothing they built in the dark can stand in the light you now walk in. Stay grounded, chosen one. The spotlight isn't just exposing them, it's validating you. Number 11. They're watching the narrative collapse in real time. You can't control a fire once the forest catches. They built their kingdom out of dry lies, hoping no spark would ever reach it. But chosen one, they forgot you were the spark. And now, The whole forest is catching. The fire they once laughed at, mocked as just your emotions, your drama, your overreactions, is now burning through the very walls they built to hide behind. You didn't have to scream to be heard. You just had to stay lit long enough for others to notice the smoke. At first, they gaslit you like a magician misdirects a crowd. They waved their hands at your reputation, twisted stories like smoke rings, and hoped the audience would never peek behind the curtain. But now the curtain's in flames, and everyone's watching, in real time. You see, when it's just one person telling the truth, they can manipulate the narrative. But when it's 2, 10, a crowd, that's not a whisper anymore, that's a wildfire, and it doesn't need permission to spread. The truth has a way of multiplying when it's ready. And now, the same energy they once used to isolate you is being used to expose them. Now imagine this, chosen one, a stage set for a play they wrote and starred in. You were just the villain in their script, the scapegoat, the distraction, but mid-performance, the lights flicker. The lines don't make sense. The crowd starts murmuring. Someone in the back whispers, "Wait, that's not how it really happened." And suddenly, the illusion breaks. They're standing there, center stage, exposed, script in hand, but no audience left to fool. That's what's happening now. People are whispering, stories aren't adding up, patterns are emerging. And the beauty, you didn't have to force it, you just had to survive it. That alone was enough to start the collapse. Because truth doesn't need to knock down the door, it just seeps in through every crack. And when enough chosen ones align, the walls implode from within. And they know it. That's why they're panicking behind the scenes. That's why they're scrambling to shift blame, suddenly playing victim, trying to rewrite the plot again. But it's too late. The narrative isn't theirs to control anymore. The moment they lost control of the truth, they lost control of the outcome. Stay steady, chosen one. The fire's working for you now. Keep walking. Let the flames handle the rest. Number 12. Their fall is your confirmation. When the tables turn, the masks fall with them. This is not just karma. This is confirmation. Chosen one, what you're witnessing isn't just their downfall. It's the universe validating everything you felt in silence, everything you knew in your spirit, and everything they tried to convince the world was false. You didn't have to lift a finger. You didn't have to plot, scream, or even explain. You just had to align. And now that you did, the universe is doing the rest, loudly. See, the most poetic part of all this is that their collapse isn't dramatic. It's undeniable. It's not a scream. It's a series of slip-ups, confessions, public stumbles, exposed messages, and awkward silences. It's energy that once screamed, "I won," now begging to not be seen. It's eyes that once stared you down, now refusing to meet yours. That's what real justice looks like. Natural, divine, unstoppable. Now imagine this, chosen one. You're walking through a battlefield of people who once threw stones at your crown, and now they're the ones crawling through the rubble of their own deception. Not because you fought back in vengeance, but because the truth you carried was too powerful to stay buried. You were the seed they tried to stomp out, not realizing the pressure only made your roots stronger. And now that you've grown, you cast a shadow on everything they thought they built above you. Let's be honest, some of them are still pretending, smiling through panic, posting through collapse, acting unbothered while watching every move you make. But that's just the final twitch of a mask in free fall. The fall isn't coming, it's happening. And the silence they're offering now, it's not peace, it's panic. Because truth, when fully embodied, doesn't need a witness. It creates waves, and you've become the living proof that no lie survives the light for long. They can't laugh now, they can't hide now, and most painfully for them, they can't deny now. Not when your glow is confirmation of their guilt, not when your rise screams louder than their smear campaigns ever could. So stay calm, chosen one, stay grounded. Their fall is not your revenge, it's your reward. You didn't just win, you were right, and the universe just proved it. And so, chosen one, here we are. The truth didn't just whisper, it roared. Their downfall was never your goal, but it became the proof. You rose without dragging anyone down, and now their collapse confirms your calling. Let this remind you, the universe never forgets. So keep walking in alignment, because what's ahead is bigger than anything they tried to block. If this message hit home, drop the number 777 in the comments to confirm you're awake and rising. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs the truth more than comfort. We're not done yet. This mission is just beginning.